So, welcome to Art Traffic. Let's get going. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Art Traffic. I'm your host, Thomas Adams. This week, we're going to bring you an interview with Jungmok Lee. She's an artist from Korea, lives in Long Beach now, is currently showing at Brainworks Gallery. You can see her work up there right now at a show called Farm to Table. Brainworks is at 5364 West Pico Boulevard in Los Angeles. You can check it out through November 25th, so it's that good Thanksgiving show for you to go see. Get fat on some turkey and look at some art. All right. So let's introduce our guests tonight. And first of all, to do this, you're gonna have to help me out with first of all the real proper order of your names, because your YouTube channel has one name. You introduce yourself as another name, and then I cannot pronounce that thing that starts with a J at all. So that's on me. That's on me. So you got to help us out. No in reality, what did your parents name you?
So my Korean name, to say it in Korean, it's Jungmok. But kind of American way, you can call me Jungmok.
Okay.
Yeah. But
you introduce yourself as Sona, though.
I do, and that's
was just me because of my extreme whiteness?
No, no, it was I made that name up actually when I moved here, when I was 13, because everyone had such a hard time pronouncing my name, and no one was remembering who I was.
Yeah.
And I wanted people to know who I was, so I made this name Sona, so it's easy for people to pronounce and remember.
Okay, so, and you were born in Seoul?
Yeah, I was born in Seoul.
And then where is it that you moved to when you first moved here?
Redlands, California. I don't know if...
the garden spot of California, Redlands.
All the orange groves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
But I moved around a lot. Yeah. Before I came to Long Beach, I was in Pasadena.
And that was after you moved out, or when you were still living with your parents, or?
It was after I moved out. Yeah. I went to...
And are your parents still in Redlands, or did you... I don't even ask that question yet. Did you move from Korea with your parents?
I did, with my mom and with my stepdad, because my stepdad lived in California, and that's how I came here.
Oh, okay.
Because my mom remarried to him.
Yeah.
And my stepdad doesn't live here anymore. Like, they are divorced now, so my mom is still here, but...
Okay, if you hear random crunching in this podcast, it's because we're eating tacos. Just to set the stage for everyone. It's tacos and beer time on the back porch. Taco Tuesday it is. It's a Tuesday today even. We're trying to do it for real. And I'm so happy that, first of all, I met you. I got exposed to your work, and I've been binging it like it's Netflix for the last 3 days.
Really?
Since
wow.
I met you, yeah. And it's been really fun and really great, because I love the parameters that you set up for your performances. There's a performance called The Body Project that I feel like just everything is actually perfect. in that one because the amount of time, the activity, the effort, the materials, all just really comes together on that one. So I'm gonna ask you about a lot of things, but like let's start there. Like, how did you decide what the elements were gonna be like? Or first just like describe it to the audience so they know kind of like what's involved. There's like a rope and there's pulling and okay, so then just
well, so the body project is basically a project I did like about a year and a half ago when I really was wanted to kind of like still trying to figure out and trying to fight the image, like body image, that society kind of pressure to have. And I, growing up in Korea, didn't help because I was bullied for being bigger than other kids. So I always had that like body image problem growing up. And so like as I grew older, I wanted to kind of really challenge myself with that issue, and started really thinking about like what it means to have like, woman's body. And that's how the project came about. And during the project, I done research about like how woman's image or woman's body were portrayed like in commercially or just in common like daily life. And one of the things that I recognized was women's bodies are always compared to objects like pear shape, apple shape, hourglass. I kind of like was getting really frustrated by that, because for men's body to describe, like they weren't compared to an object. You know, it wasn't some kind of fruit that was desirable. It wasn't some kind of like pretty shaped.
Do we even have names for what men's body shapes are? Do we?
No, not really. They
like
were
maybe just like dumpy or buff.
Yeah.
We don't we don't associate them with objects, and we don't really have a lot of names for it like we do with women's bodies.
Yeah. So that's sort of what made me like think about it, about making the work. So I did a body cast of my body.
Oh, I love it so much more now. I didn't know that that's what it was. I was like, this was one of my number one questions when Jonathan and I were talking about this earlier. I was like, I gotta know what those were. And it's ceramic, isn't it? Yeah. Okay.
It's ceramic.
So it's a full body cast, basically, of you in pieces.
Basically, yes.
That's ceramic. Are they?
They're
fired, but they're not glazed, are they?
They're not glazed. They're fired. But
I prefer it not glazed. I think if it was glazed, it would look too much like a finished thing. But in this form, it's like this raw material.
Yeah.
And what you're dealing with in the piece too is it's this really raw looking rope that's knotted into this net that holds up what I now know even better is a full body cast in ceramic.
Yeah.
That is fucking cool. And that's the first time I've ever said that on this podcast. Oh man,
Thank you.
that's rad. Okay, so keep going. I'm sorry.
No. And I and I made several casting with clay.
Little taco face. Sorry, Jonathan.
Some
Did you
crunch.
see how I was like, I'm trying to be away from the mic, but I actually got closer to it? Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
No.
Go.
So I made multiple castings of my body, and then I kind of just kept like working on like writing on them, or writing things that have said to me or that have said to women regarding their body or their virginity, their sexuality, and just what it means to be a woman in eyes of others.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote that in red and all over the body, and I also wrote a reply in black saying like, this is like what I think, you know. And basically just what's in the net is like, yeah, there are like multiple pieces of those writings and thoughts in the net that weighs similar to my weight at that time, and that's what I was trying to break. I'm trying to raise up.
Yeah, but that was interesting where you're breaking it at the same time that you're lifting it. So there's like this physical production that's going on where you're trying to pull down the rope to lift up the net filled with the body casts. And just because I wasn't there and I've only seen the video, in the video you can't see the mechanism that it is, but it seems whatever it is, it's making you work hard.
Yeah.
You know, you're barely getting this thing off the ground, and then at the beginning of the performance, it's like not coming off the ground at all.
Yeah.
It's like, but then the performance is really dramatic in the way that like it's this real struggle to get this off the ground even a centimeter.
Yeah.
And then as it finally starts to happen, the thing is bashing you in the legs and the body. It's swinging violently and hitting. And I was like concerned for you. And then someone behind the camera in the audience says, I wish I could get his exact quote. Maybe I can. He says, "Do you need help? Is this part of the performance?" Which I thought was just like, oh, I don't know how you kept it together at that point, because if it was me, I'd be jumping up and down like, yeah, I got him. Like they're so into it, and they're like, they want to jump in. They're like so invested in this activity that they're like, should I be jumping into this, or do the norms of the art world mean that I must remain cool in this gallery, or you know what I mean? But you had people fighting with that, which is like the most amazing thing that you can do as an artist, right?
Yeah, and I think that was like the first performance that I did at school that I was I was physically present as a subject of the work, and that involvement really surprised me and also made me thrilled about doing performance. And I think that kind of what kept me going to continue to make performative work.
Yeah. Okay. Did you get hurt? Just like it's like, I know it's a weird question, but like it looked like the ceramic stuff was really bashing you in the legs, and then actually for the and almost immediately, because it kind of like swings off the ground immediately and it hits you like first thing out of the gate. What did it like, did you get injured in this? Did you get cut up or bruised or?
I don't quite remember if I got bruises or not, but during the performance, my arms really started to like get tired.
Yeah.
There are just points where I just wanted to let go and be done with it.
Yeah.
But
So what was that ending
Yeah.
for you? What do you what was that? Did you go in with an idea that was like, this is going to be the parameter and it will be over when X happens?
I honestly didn't really had an expectation of what it was gonna be like. I knew what I wanted to do, but I wasn't sure if I was gonna be able to do it, because I knew that it's a heavy object. At the end, maybe it doesn't work the way that I thought I would. I wanted it to.
Mm-hmm.
So my plan was to make just try to pull the object to the top and just drop it, and that would be the end.
Mm-hmm.
And I was be able to do it, and I kind of figured out the ways to do it, which was like breaking the ceramic. And
Yeah.
even though like I thought about it, I didn't know how efficient it was gonna be. And when it did happen, I was surprised. I was like, this is working.
Yeah, and that's where I feel like so much of the meaning of the piece is derived too, is in the breaking of the ceramic. It has to be, it has to, or else it doesn't work. And then, I don't know, I think just like the amount of effort that was put into it. I mean, like 90% of the video is trying to lift this thing up. And there's maybe like 10% of victory. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, but that struggle is the meat of it, the most important part. I mean, I think that piece would be very satisfying if you never even got it off the ground. But I think it's so much better the way it did turn out.
Yeah.
But I think it would have been still like a satisfying piece if you never got it off the ground at all. But the
Yeah.
fact that you did get it all the way up to the ceiling and the whole thing drops at the end, and it's like, it's very dramatic, but it's also kind of a victory.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's our airplanes going overhead.
It's okay.
We'll edit this out or we'll not edit this out. It doesn't matter.
Long Beach.
I know. Bless up. Love you,
Yeah.
Long Beach.
Yeah.
So, a lot of your work deals with the body
Yes.
in like all kinds of issues around it as well.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. So, let's talk about Meat Market then,
Okay.
because that's like the body, but in different regards.
Yeah.
So this is about more like a social political
Yeah.
aspect.
It's one of, I think it's the very first work that I made that doesn't involve ceramic or clay. And I've been working with clay for 6 years, and that's how I started really making art. And so it was very, very interesting. But I was in Korea, doing study abroad, and I lived in Korea for 13 years. I was born and raised, and I remember growing up always questioning, why is it so important that I fit into this ideal
Sorry.
It's okay. This ideal, like feminine image and what it like the means to be a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And because if you're a woman, if you're a girl, you are taught to taught to have the skill to cook, skills to clean,
Mm-hmm.
skills to take care of other people,
Mm-hmm.
because of the traditions in Korea. And I was never happy with that, and I never really agreed with that.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the other thing that I saw that was really problematic was this culture, this sex culture that Korea had, and I recognized this from the early age, because through TV, like they will talk about subjects like that, like subjects regarding of sex industry in Korea, and I would sometimes see and hear stories in person, or just eavesdropping.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you're a kid, you remember things, you still hear things, understand things, even though people want to like say like, oh, like kids don't understand.
Right.
But their ears are open.
Mm-hmm.
Their minds are open.
That's
I feel
for
like
sure.
sometimes kids definitely remember things better than adults do. Very clear.
Yes.
And and when I moved here, I was still intact with Korean culture, and still that sex work or sex industry was relevant in America, especially LA.
Yeah.
And I knew some people that did sex work as a Korean sex worker in LA, and I took it as what is, and kind of, I guess, had this idea of maybe, yeah, like what other people say about Korean sex worker, that they actually make a good living, and that they did with their own will, and they're happy, because that's what often I don't know what people say online, or that's what people expect in reality.
Okay.
So I was really curious if that was true.
Yeah.
And then I went to Korea, and I started talking with my friend that actually was based in Korea. He's in military. He's in Air Force in Korea,
Mm-hmm.
and or at that time was based in Korea. So I started talking, and then there's this like really famous like sex worker that has been around there since the 50s.
Wow.
Yeah, and she's famous because there's a video of her online getting kicked by a person, and then the people just, I don't know, kind of like make fun of her for being there. And hearing that kind of like made me feel uneasy.
Yeah.
And as I continued to stay in Korea longer, I started to see more signs regarding of sex worker, like sex work. So
Is it legal there?
It's illegal. It's illegal in Korea, but everyone's aware of of that industry.
Yeah, sure. It's like
yeah, in numbers, more than half of, like 2/3 of Korean men had experience
Yeah, so
buying
it's this
sex.
prevalent, illegal, but
Yeah.
often utilized industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to find like answers to my question, like, are really these women happy? Like, are these women really making money? And that's sort of the start of the research. And through the stay in Korea, and I was there for 6 months, and I went to different facilities that, like, clinics and facilities that helped Korean sex worker and also sex workers from different countries. One of the example was Filipino woman, and that's like whole another story that that also needs to be addressed. But I realized, like, throughout the research, I realized that, like, these women really are not workers. They're more of sex slaves. And I I find that very problematic, and that people don't recognize that as slavery, but recognize it as worker and be okay with it and not think farther.
Yeah, well, in order for them to be able to use that industry, that's what they have to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
That they if they allowed themselves to see that these people were actually slaves or indentured servants or however the mechanism works, it doesn't matter. They still couldn't. Or if they did go ahead and do it, they would have to kind of come to terms with that in themselves.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to think that they're good people.
Mm-hmm.
Only not everybody can be good people. So
Yeah, very true. And I mean, it's interesting because people easily think, yeah, like, if they have a problem, why don't they stop and then, stop being a sex worker?
mm-hmm.
And what people don't realize is that these women start from very young age,
Mm-hmm.
because often they run away from their house and they don't have the proper education or a mentor or like a guidance
Yeah.
to let them know that there are other ways. And because they grew up in environments like that, their society really is built around that. So even often when they do go out, like, they come back because they are not familiar with
Yeah.
the quote unquote like a regular society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the actual work, there is someone, not you, grilling what looks like hot dogs on a hot plate inside a kind of a very small room with a Mylar background to this female somebody, not you, that is doing this activity. Well, actually, in the documentation, they're sitting at first, and then two people come in and sit down. They exchange conversation. This transaction of hot meat is made, and then so tell us about the pig mask but just how all that works together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't see this a lot here in America, but if you go to Korea, the butcher shops
Mhm.
slide are red,
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of like a common knowledge without really seeing it in person that like some butcher shop would have a red lighting
Yeah.
over their meat
Yeah.
to kind of make them more
Appealing looking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
So when you, and also I think it's common knowledge that the brothel areas are also known as the red light industry
Sure. Yeah.
or district.
Yeah.
And when you do go into this like red light district in Korea, like all like you will see just like the line, like on a street there's this like line of shops that are made with glass that is like really lit, like pinkish reddish color.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this woman sitting in the front, kind of looking pretty or like seducing men, for sex. So I wanted to kind of combine the two idea of the butcher shop and the brothel. And there's also this like meat, like the act of eating meat and like the tasting the meat in your mouth is almost similar to, I think it's the most like similar to possibly like a act of sex. The smell, like the sound of grilling, the warmth, the heat that comes from the fire, act of eating, like having things in your mouth, like chunk of meat or
Yeah, we're really fortunate that Maurice is not at the table anymore because she would have told so many jokes about heat and meat and just it would have been horrible. I know. It would have gone really, really poorly. It would have been.
yeah.
We would have strayed far away from the work. Is what my fear is.
Yeah, and it's just like all of that in combination, I think that kind of created that setting. Also, like Korean barbecue is a very well known thing to be a Korean. So there's like little humor here and there, but like some irony of like the pig mask.
Sorry, one more. Okay, so the irony of the pig mask.
Like this like a pink, like very like a pretty like pig cooking the meat.
It's a handsome pig.
Yeah, it's a handsome pig. And also if you go to like this like Korean barbecues in Korea, they will have like these like animal photos. But often, I mean, if you do go to like a steakhouse or something, or like a Korean barbecue place, you can often see this like animated image of a cow or like a pig. You know, like selling.
So fun.
Yeah, like selling meat. You know, like I provide you, like I give you a piece of meat.
Yeah, your reference is so clear. It's just all like, come eat me, buy my flesh, and then in the piece, it's all about buying flesh. I get it. I get it. I'm not that smart, but if you explain it to me a lot, I'll get it in the end.
Yeah. And with the Meyer, I wanted to have some sort of reflection, but not a clear reflection, and that signifies the current kind of treatment. I'm not sure if that's like the right word, but yeah, like the treatment of like how they are dealing the people who are at they're like buying service or buying meat are treating the issue. You know, you understand that you're there, but it's not, the image like is not clear. Like you don't see it clear, but it's like you're there. So
yeah, it definitely
and you're part
gave
of
me
it.
the feeling. Okay, so in the show that you're in right now at Brainworks Gallery, that piece is there. Well, the piece is not there, but there's an installation with a video of it there. And you have the Mylar setup behind the video player, and the pink neon is there. The same, it's the same one that was in the video, or a different one?
The neon is not in the video, but it's right outside. It was
Is that what's making it, the lighting look pink inside the video?
There is actually like a red light like installed in the room,
Oh,
but
okay.
so the actual installation and then the performance took in this gallery that had like a little bigger room and then like a little room, and then the performance took place in the little room, and like outside of that little room I did another installation I created another like little tiny room in the corner where people can go and read stories about the performer that I created, and also without actually paying to participate in the performance, people can in live watch the performance through a tablet. But it's very small, so that's kind of like like it kind of is like picking.
Yeah.
And but the neon sign was like installed right outside of the performance room, as if it was like some kind of store. It was like a store sign.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also on the floor I have been collecting this like tiny business cards. So during weekends, like if you go to some places in city of Seoul, you can find this tiny bit like this business cards with basically naked woman and like saying things like juicy or like clam heaven.
Oh my god.
with like
You want to know what? That's actually better than what I was worried you were gonna say. So that's.
What do you think I was gonna say?
I can't say it, even though we have like the explicit on this podcast. I can't say those things. I was just really concerned.
I mean, I think that's kind of funny that, you know, it's so like the image is so direct, but you know, this is like what they write on it. It's kind of
It's the same.
it's vulgar,
the thing,
but it's kind of funny.
but the things that you were saying, this kind of like reinforces what where we began the conversation, which was you were talking about women being described as fruit, and then on these postcards they're being described as fruit again, like, oh, juicy, you know what I mean? Like, what? Oh.
Yeah.
Why does
So-
this keep happening? That's how I feel at this point.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of like a recurring theme.
Yeah.
That happens all over the world. Yeah, that it's like, you know, there are also terms like, oh, like you should get married when you're like ripe, or
Oh,
like she's ripe,
yes.
like things like that, you know. But I think that's exactly the reason why I continue to make works looks like this to focus on terminology, I guess, sometimes.
Yeah. So, who's your ideal audience for this work?
I really want everyone to be able to come and enjoy, or at least like feel something.
Yeah.
It's funny, like my dad came for installation, and it's kind of maybe like weird thing to say, but even though I never seen my dad like do something involving around that, but
Yeah.
I would assume that he has done it because it's so casual thing to do in Korea.
Yeah.
When you're working as a business person or as like a part of a corporation,
Yeah.
it's a service thing that men do,
Yeah. Yeah.
together, and
yeah.
that's how they bond together. It's a men group activity
Right.
that happens.
I've heard this described to me by another friend as well, but he was referring to the same phenomenon happening, but in Japan.
Oh yeah, yeah, Japan definitely has that culture, and it's sort of the culture that Korea has. Definitely relates, the history like is definitely related to the Japanese culture. That's how it, I think, started, like really from the influence of Japanese
And
utilize.
you were talking to me the last time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when we originally talked about this work, you were talking a little bit about the total history, but especially the World War II period and the post-World War II period and comfort women and
Yeah.
that whole institutionalization is today's contemporary sex worker culture related to that history? Is it directly derived from that, or is this a whole nother thing?
This is definitely evolution. Evolution.
Yeah.
Of that.
So this is like, today is the super fueled version of World War II comfort women.
Yeah, basically. It started from that, but the idea started from that, but the idea was adopted from adopted by Korean government while going through Korean War.
Yeah.
And it was about that, like, same idea, same system was applied for U.S. soldiers during their stay.
The Korean War.
Yeah. And that's how it kind of kicked off, and now this is what we have in Korea, this giant industry.
Yeah, so it's just more of it.
Yeah, and there's so many different kinds of sex work in Korea. There's one of the focus I did was office girl. That's usually more of like a college level, like, woman that needs money, that like rents this like office cell. I don't know if you know what office cell is. It's basically office.
Is it a cubicle?
It's not a cubicle, but it's a really tiny space where you only have, like, you can only put like a single bed and like a desk.
So this is a place where someone lives
Yeah, this is a place.
and works?
Yeah, they can work or just live.
Oh.
It's a combination of office and hostel.
Oh.
Yeah.
Those are two things that don't go together. That's not good.
But Seoul is so expensive that, like, we all live in a very cramped spaces, right? So, like, if you're away from your family for going to school, going to, like, better school, or going to college, or, like, going to working, that's usually places that people live because it's cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But so these young women, either often goes under this, like, a group, that manages other women that wants to work as a sex worker, and they basically stay in this office cell during the business hour, and like, men come and then they pick out, like, like, who they select the woman, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they go in and do the whole thing and then come out. So that's what I was bringing into performance, or
Yeah.
transferring into performance.
Well, I wish we had so much more time to do a lot more of your work. We do have 2 segments that we need to do at the end that we do for everybody.
Okay.
I think I might have told you about these. They are side hustles,
Mm-hmm.
which is basically, what do you got to do to pay the rent to make this art thing happen? And you'll be surprised we had one person that never had a side hustle.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, what a lucky
Called her a
person.
liar, too. I found out that I was right. She did have to have a job when she was in college. That was Pat Lanza. Yeah, no. Pat Lanza, who's the director of the Annenberg Space for Photography.
Okay.
She claimed to never have a side hustle, and I got it out of her. That she worked as like a lab assistant in college.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but other than that, she never had to have a non-art job. But also, she's like a National Geographic photographer and like all this other cool stuff.
Cool.
Cooler ways to pay the rent than I do.
Mm-hmm.
So side hustles, and then your assignment for us, like if you wanted to hear our podcast, what artist would you, artist, curator, museum director, collector of any of those, has to be Los Angeles. Okay. So first of all, side hustles. Well, it could be maybe just like a funny job that you had in the past. It could be what you do now to make rent. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe you're independently wealthy, living off of your trust funds.
Oh my God, yes.
Or, yeah.
Did you know? I was going to keep that a secret. I never.
No, that's okay. I feel like living off of your trust fund is a hustle as well. It's like hard work out there. You got to keep your parents happy.
Mm-hmm.
You have to like keep up appearances like crazy. You have to like, all of your most major decisions in life, you have to like keep that trust in mind.
Definitely. It's a lot of work.
I wouldn't know, but I've heard. Yeah. So let's talk side hustles.
Well, I just finished school, so I'm going through that kind of hustle period.
Heck yeah.
And at first I tried doing dog sitting.
Okay, this is great.
You know, I love dogs and pets, so, and I thought it was perfect. You know, I went on a website that hosted and looked at, per walk you can do like 10 to 15. You can dog sit for like $50 per night.
Yeah.
It's like if I, walk a dog or walk maybe like 5 dogs a day, like every day, or like every other day, like I would be good. Like this is perfect. This is what I want. Like I don't have to get a dog. I don't have to pay to have a dog, but I can just
and
walk.
Theoretically it could leave you time to do your work.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. That's what we're all looking for, right?
Yeah, it just sounded like a dream job, and I spent all this time like making my like submitting my application or creating like my website, and it like never
it didn't take off.
No. I don't know what happened. It didn't take off. But thankfully though I was able to get a job with another ceramic artist that is fantastic. But I also work as a banquet server on a boat or on a cruise ship.
Cool. On a boat.
If I'm gonna hustle, like I try to make it as like romantic as possible.
Okay, and so who would you like to hear from in a podcast?
I've been thinking a lot, and this is someone that I've got to sort of know through school, but also accidentally, because I went to a book fair, and the art book fair at Mocha, Mocha.
Oh, yeah.
And I found her book and completely fall in love, and has been such an inspiration. And I haven't really got the time to get to know her as much as I wanted to. So I think it would be really fantastic to hear an interview of her with you. Her name is Anna Suhoy.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't think I know her work.
She works with ceramics, but she also does performance, and she works with fibers, metal, like wood. Just very interdisciplinary, like fantastic artist that really, I think, challenges the notion of being a woman and a mother and and her culture and her background. So I think it'd be really, really great.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
We promise we will pursue them, but we can't promise that they'll say yes.
I know.
No, we're surprised sometimes by who's into it and who's not, and what will happen.
Yeah. Hopefully. But if not, then it will still be good.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being with us on Art Traffic, and I'm gonna give a hard try at your name when I actually do the intro for the show.
Okay.
I'll try not to butcher it.
Okay.
I'll do my best.
No, don't any. It's like another thing that I've been trying to pursue, like of having people recognize my Korean name, because I think for so long I've been just trying to make easy for people to say my name, because it's even hard for Korean to sometimes memorize or remember or say my name.
Oh, is it unusual?
Yeah, it's pretty unusual name.
Oh.
And so I've been through that struggle entire life.
Sure.
My life.
I can't imagine what it was like to be 13 in Redlands, just dropped in
Oh my god.
Hey, is there a big Korean community in Redlands?
there's some. It's not huge, but there's some.
So when you went to school, though,
Mm-hmm.
everyone was just all like,
Yeah, I mean, oh, you can't
like
imagine.
I can't
just-
no the butchering. You must. have
Yeah,
been-
so much. Oh my god, it was like so bad. Like someone even just ended up calling me donuts. I don't know how it got.
donut.
Yeah, I don't know how it got there, but they just started calling me donuts. So I was like, this is kind of serious. Like, I gotta.
You had to intervene,
Yeah.
and that's how Sona came about.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
I'm
how
gonna
it
go
came.
for, and you give me corrections because I want to get this right.
Okay.
Jungmok.
Sounds perfect.
No, come on.
No, it does.
I
It sounds
never-
really good.
Oh. Okay, thanks for listening. I hope you really appreciated us crunching on tacos and just carrying on about art and life. And if you get a chance, check out Jungmok's YouTube channel. It's really cool. Just search for Jungmok Lee. That's JUNGMOKLEE. I really like the Body Project and Meat Market. They're both really good. The Coin Project is cool too. Check out Jungmok's work at Brainworks Gallery right now. She's in a show, Farm to Table. Also, you can pick up Art Traffic anywhere that you download podcasts from. Also, if you want to get in contact with us, contact us at arttrafficpod on Twitter or at arttraffic@thomasadamsart.com. And we'd love to hear from you. Send us emails, DM us on Instagram, and we'll get back to you. We want to hear who you want to hear from. Thanks very much. Talk to you soon.